I feel like a lot of the companies you talk to, they're in that 100 to 400 range. So let's say I'm there and I have 50 grand. Do I do a little bit of everything, or do I just go all in on the website, and then when I have the money, I go in on the rims?
And you're wanting to be the biggest whatever in that industry, right? As if today, like, you have to start it on everything. So everything doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10. And not saying you have to have rims on your truck, but whatever your brand is, and I'm not just talking about websites and logos and uniforms. I'm talking about what's your welcome script when your technician goes to the door? What's your closing script? How do the CSRs, your customer service representatives, answer the phone? What are they saying? That's your brand. That's who you are. What's your message? What's your why?
Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners, Evan Ritchey and Cameron Bawden, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of two of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control, stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
Okay, so today on this episode, we talk about a lot of different aspects to entrepreneurship. And one principle we're going to talk about today is something I'm excited to talk about, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know what to do once money starts pouring into their business, other than maybe take it or put it in a savings account. And they kind of have analysis paralysis where they say, I have a few bucks coming in. Do I put it into marketing? Do I hire a new person? Do I get new office chairs? And today we're going to talk about what we've historically done with extra cash flow on how we've grown our businesses. So Cameron, in my opinion, is one of the best allocators of refunds. And as I've thought about this episode, I was like, man, our opinions are going to differ. But at the end of the day, because we're joint and uniformed in how we make our decisions, at least our decision-making process, that we've both been completely uniform in our decision that excess cash in the first 5 years was always going to go towards growth. But let's kick this off with the regular entrepreneur that comes to you, Cam, and says, Cam, like, I have 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand in extra cash every month. What should I do with it?
Yeah, and I love this because it all depends on where you're wanting to go. So if you're just trying to be a one-man show, the answer is completely different than, hey, I want to have market dominance. Because if it's market dominance, then it's getting your brand on point, right? So having a full brand, what's your full experience from the trucks you drive to the uniforms that your technicians are going to wear to your website. Like, everything needs to flow perfectly because you want to look like that multi-million-dollar company day one. And that's going to take a lot of money. So if you only have 5 to 10 grand, all your money is going to go to that. And that's fine. But you need to have that in order to go to market. A lot of people make the mistake and they just get started. They put together this horrible branding, right? Or just like this logo that they just create on Upwork or something like that really quickly. And they say, hey, when I get the money, I'll do it. But that money never comes. It really never comes because, or if it does, trying to rebrand and trying to reintroduce to your customers, maybe it's a different name that you want to have now. Maybe it's different colors. Maybe it's different touch and feel, whatever it might be. But now you're having to train and almost reinvest into the marketplace of your brand, your image of who you're going to be again. And so you're just wasting money and money. So the answer is when people ask that, hey, I have 5 to 10 grand, what do I do with it? It's where do you want to be?
Right.
And if you want to be the one-man show, I wouldn't encourage you to go spend 10 grand on your brand. It's, hey, figure out ways to which you can grow, that you have a low acquisition cost, and figure out your model that works, and just do it as cheap as you can, because it sounds like you'll never sell it. You're going to be a one-man show, and just do your best, and that's great. But if you're wanting to have market dominance, double down on the brand, all your systems and processes. I talk a lot about CRMs. Spend the money on a perfect CRM right now that's going to allow you to scale, because everything is, nailing it before you scaling it. Yeah. But put in a policy as if you were a $100 million company.
Yeah.
So the CRM is the customer relationship management. Essentially, it holds all your customer information. When you're going to go out and schedule, or when you're going to go out and service the customer, it can take care of all the scheduling, all the building. We personally use field routes. A lot of companies like Tommy, like Gettle, they're all using Service Titan.
Yeah.
There's thousands of different CRMs out there. But what's important is you find the one that's going to work for you, not today, but as you scale. Because remember, any policy, anything you have that you're going to put into place, you need to do it as if you're running a 10, 20, $30 million company.
Okay, because I want to break that down. I'll answer the question with what my answer would be, but
No one cares.
what?
No, like we really don't care. So let's just move on.
Let's talk about you.
Just kidding. Go ahead.
I think something, if I were to sit with you and you were to say, hey, if the goal is brand dominance,
Market dominance.
market dominance, and one approach is brand, right, and website and the entire customer experience. When you actually compartmentalize that, it gets really granular. I love the story about the decision to, was it the rims that you guys spent the money on?
Let me be clear, it's Dusty's decision.
Okay, but
And
walk me through that, because if I hear that answer, I still look at it as like, okay, if I were to even try to mimic what we're doing, and I already have 9 vehicles, and getting rims for every vehicle would be, $30,000. Like, is that my brand? Because when you break down the brand of Height Farm and Green Mango and Coconut, it is 1,000 of these little variables that contribute to us being premium in general. But let's say you said all those answers, and they say, well, Cam, like, where do I start? Is it the website, or is it the rims, or is it the tint? Is it the
So
is
you're
it the
starting
polos?
fresh right now.
Let's say that they, let's say I feel like a lot of companies you talk to, they're in that 100 to 400 range.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm there and I have 50 grand. Do I do a little bit of everything, or do I just go all in on the website, and then when I have the money, I go in on the rims?
And you're wanting to be the biggest whatever in that industry,
Yeah.
right? Hey, you have to, as if today, like you have to start it on everything. So everything doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10, but you need to, and not saying you have to have rims on your truck,
Yeah.
but whatever your brand is, and I'm not just talking about websites and logos and uniforms. I'm talking about what's your welcome script when your technician goes to the door? What's your closing script? How do the CSRs, your customer service representatives, answer the phone? What are they saying? That's your brand. That's who you are. What are you putting out there? Like, what's your message? What's your why? Us, hey, we're a locally owned company, family owned company here in, Gilbert, Arizona, and we're passionate. We're Arizona's finest premium service. That's who we were from truck one. I laugh. I still have the little flip phone in my office right now. When you were doing T9er, if you look back at the messages that Dusty and I would send from day one, and we would literally have to type it in. It's, hey, customer name. This is Cameron with Green Mango Pest Control. We're going to be coming out tomorrow to perform your premium bi-monthly service. Yeah. And it talks about the gates. It talks about making sure your pets are put away. And if you need anything, give us a call. It's the same message. I mean, we've altered it maybe a little bit, but 90% it's the same. Yeah. That was our brand. We're notifying customers. We're talking how we're premium. The trucks were in line. Our uniforms. We never really went out without Nike dry fit clothes, yep. Right? The trucks always had rims on it. Just everything, top to bottom, it was there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just to add a different perspective, rather than, because I feel like I'm in full agreement with that. If the approach is market dominance, if the approach is market dominance or just continual betterment and getting bigger, an area that I would circle back on and get to sooner is education for the people.
For like the customer or the employees?
Employees.
Okay.
So I feel like a lot of the managers that we have now learned as they kind of grew with the company. But as I've circled back at Coconut and I've bought these little $100 subscriptions to little Master Communicator University, Charisma on Command, and I've given it to some of the leaders, and then 3 months later I see the compounding effect of seeing how they can handle conflict resolution, making business decisions. And so one aspect, in addition to what you've said, is to find a portion of your money coming in, going back into investing into your people and their growth, not only in their leadership, but also in their overall experience with the company as well. Because it's nice for them to wear the polos, but if the polos they're wearing are just continuously getting wrecked and they're saying, hey, like these are nice, but mine already smell, or I can't, get a few of these stains out. Sometimes it doesn't do as much for them as it does for like what the company is trying to accomplish. And so investing in their experience, your employees' experience, from leadership betterment to coaching to getting people in front of them, I think is definitely something I would look into if I could go back 6-7 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, to your point, like it's expensive. It's expensive whether you start now, or it's expensive if you have 9 vehicles out on the road. But if you're wanting to come across as the best, like it's gonna come at a price. Yeah. In your relationships at home, it's gonna come at a price at your bank account, at your health. Like everything's gonna come at a toll. Yeah. And you just need to manage your expectations and know that, hey, I'm gonna buy a nice, Nike dry fit shirt for a technician, and in 3 to 4 months, I'm gonna have to replace that again because it's gonna be trash. Like to your point, like he doesn't care about it. Yeah. And even if he did care about it, like he's out there working, it's not going to last. The rims are going to get dinged. You got to find someone to come in and fix the rims every once in a while. You got to maintain, and that's the hardest part. And that's what drives me crazy the most. I had a CSR tell me today, like, hey, I know you were on the phones at one point, but you don't know what it's like to be on the phones now that we have 30,000 customers. And I thought she was joking for a minute because I'm like, you only take 60 to 80 calls a day, right? Like even if we triple, that doesn't mean you're going to take 180 calls. It's the same. And that's how we have it set up, is that no matter how big you get, you put systems in place to where you're doing that system as if you had one customer or 6,000 customers or whatever it is. And you got to have things in place to replace those uniforms. You got to have things in place to update your website. You can't just do your website once and then look at it again in 4 years from now. You have to be on your game on every single aspect and be committed to that, because when sales get tight, and I've gone through this at some of the companies that I've had to sell, is like that's the first thing that almost goes like, oh, let's stretch, instead of getting text new shirts every 3 months, like let's go 4.5 months. Yeah. Or, oh, the vinyl on that truck is looking a little weak, like let's stretch it another month or 2 months. You just can't do that. You got to stay true to yourself.
Yeah. I feel like some of the conversations I've been in where we've talked to other entrepreneurs out there is, and I want you to repeat the advice that you've given, because what I've always respected about your approach to entrepreneurship is that you're willing to take zero until essentially almost your desired amount that you really, really, really want. Because I feel like some of these guys come in and they're like, Cam, like I'm at 2 people, but I'm making $300,000. Like I'm taking $300,000. And then maybe you see the truck they pull up in and it's like, it's just messy. And they're like, but hey, I want to listen to you. So I'm making good money, but I want more. I don't always want to be on the truck. You've had to tell those guys, like, you need to go back down to like 150 or 100 or 80. And so what about some of those guys out there who have already chosen to start taking cash as income and they're also simultaneously on the other side of their mouth saying, Cam, but like I want to grow and I want to be like Green Mango Coconut. What's your advice to them and to that demographic?
It's the fastest way to see how committed people are to themselves. If someone's not willing to go from 300 to 150 or 100 or 80, like most people, I'd say like you 60, 80 grand, like you can live. Like maybe you're not going on all the vacations, maybe you're not driving the nicest car, all that stuff, but maybe 1 or 2 kids, like you can get by on that. That's what you need to get by on, and keep reinvesting into your business of either a salesman or a CFO or someone that can help you to get to that next level. But the people that aren't willing to do that, deep down, they don't want to do it because they don't believe that they'll have success. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to pull back away. I'm going to sacrifice this. And I don't know if I hire these people, if it'll result in more money at the end of the day. And that's why, like I put my money where my mouth is. The Q1, we had low sales. And I told them, I said, hey, as soon as we can figure out how to take care of our leads, I will, I dropped the marketing budget 40 grand, but I said, I'll take my personal hit of 40 grand a month once we figure out these leads, and because I'll reinvest it back in the company because I know it'll work. We needed, I think, more people in our accounting department. James is like, hey, the budget's not there. I said, take it from my salary. I'm willing to do that because I know that maybe 6 months of not going without that salary at a lesser amount, will result in probably almost 1.5 to 2x in maybe a year from now. And that's the compounding effect and the power that you have to make those decisions.
Let's talk real quick about I know we've talked about it before, but one area to exponentially accelerate your learning curve with cash is finding a skilled controller. We don't always agree with James. James doesn't always agree with us, but what I love about him is that he's like, we need blank amount of cash in our savings. And so we need to pull from here, here, and here so that we can accomplish that for a rainy day. And we need to scale down on our vehicles, and we need to reduce. I mean, he's throwing out some wild things that you and I don't even think of, where he's just like, well, technically we waste money on our air conditioning and this, and we can reduce it if someone turns it off at 5. Mm-hmm. So I would also include that if you are maybe reckless with your finances or don't really know where the money's going, I would stress the importance of finding, hiring, or even get a 1099 controller in your business and telling you what stupid mistakes you're making.
Yeah, if you're making 200 grand a year and you don't have a controller or a CFO, and you aren't willing to sacrifice 100 grand a year to get that guy in, you're an idiot. You'll never progress.
Yeah, because especially a good controller, they help you scale, and they help you say, hey, look, here's the complete build out of a truck at your expectations, with the rims, with the tires, with the paint, with everything. So this is how fast you can scale when you add everything that you want as far as your brand and what you want to be about. So when we need a new customer service representative, he throws out hey, that's a new computer, that's a new chair, that's a new desk. He helps us understand all the expenses and controls them. So bottom line, we don't have all the answers for what you should do with every new dollar that you do make, but we've learned through a lot of difficult lessons where not to put your cash, where to put your cash, and where it's worked for us. And I think continual intention on money management is crucial for growing your business, scaling your business, and at every new level of growth, you're going to be able to appropriately allocate where it goes because of you taking control at a certain level of your business.
Yeah, and what I'd say too, okay, you spend 10 grand on your brand, and now you have no sales coming in, but you have this amazing brand. Just get out and go.
Yeah.
You just go. Don't sit back. And the next step that I see people make the biggest mistake on is they'll just stay busy instead of productive.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. And that's probably the hardest thing as an entrepreneur, is to fight the battle, because no one's looking over your shoulder. No one's riding you saying, why aren't you doing this today? Why aren't you doing that? You need to hold yourself accountable and not justify to yourself oh, I was busy today. Well, did you move the needle? And there's so many BMI groups. There's so many Facebook groups that you can join. There's so many, you can go do free work for all these different people to post about. You can go out and knock doors yourself. You can, like I said, do collaborations with other companies. Everyone wants to collaborate right now. Go out there and make it happen. Now you have this amazing brand. You have your welcome script. You have your text good to go. You have your trucks looking good. You have your website. You have your marketing material. Go collaborate with people. And because you have all that, they'll want to collaborate with you. The first thing, we opened up to some collaborations last month, right? Yeah. The first thing I do is show me their brand. What do they look like? And then show me their ratings on Google. I want to see if they're presentable. I want to see, how serious they are about where they're wanting to take this. Yeah. And then what's the reviews? Do they respond to people? Is it above a 4.5? All those little things. And if it is, it's hey, I want to be with that guy. And if he's a hard worker, even better. That's what we want. So it's just effort at that point.
Yeah.